second week of Lent is Delivered from Exhaustion. Many of us work too hard, or perhaps we find ourselves in situations beyond our control that can lead to utter exhaustion. We don't have time to relax or to reflect or to renew ourselves and our relationships with others. Like the disciples at the Transfiguration, we fall asleep. We are too tired and miss what God might be doing in our lives. Physical exhaustion can lead to acedia, which is a spiritual listlessness or even apathy. We are grateful this week to have Beth Hale with us, parishioner at St. Edward Parish, and she is going to share some of her experiences and stories of being delivered from exhaustion.
My name is Beth Hale, and I'm a parishioner at St. Edward's, and I'm married to Scott, and I have 4 kids. I'm going to talk about being delivered from exhaustion. So when I think about exhaustion, there are 2 different ways that we describe being exhausted. One is just not having enough sleep or having too much to do, and that is not the type of exhaustion that I'm going to talk about. The second type of exhaustion is what they used to call in the medieval church sloth, which we tend to think of as laziness, or akadia, A-K-E-D-I-A. And that is an oppressive sorrow which so weighs upon a person's mind that he or she wants to do nothing. So sloth implies a certain weariness of work. And that is the type of feeling that we have when things are just so hard to think about or so hard to bear that we end up turning to pleasures, like going on our phone, surfing on our phone, or for me it's NPR. Like sometimes when I just can't think of anything, I turn on NPR and I just let my mind go to something that's very comfortable. This is something that we all have, and it is something that I have a lot because I have 4 kids, but also because I have 3 brain tumors. And sometimes it's just so hard to think about the things that I need to think about that I end up turning to mindless pleasures. So Thomas Aquinas says that the effect of sloth or exhaustion is that a person shuns whatever causes their sorrow, and secondly, he or she passes to other things that give her pleasure. Thus, those who find no joy in spiritual pleasures have recourse to pleasures of the body. So when I start to experience this, the first thing I do is pray. That's my first way of being delivered. So I might say, Hail Mary. I always say Hail Mary for everything. And then I just say, I cannot deal with this, God, give me help. Sometimes I get the help that I need, and sometimes I don't. So the second thing that I do when I'm experiencing this sorrow of the brain that's associated with exhaustion is I do something for other people. That's a way of God giving us the grace we need to do the things that we're supposed to do. So it's very easy with 4 kids to do something for other people. So like if my little boy wants me to read a book to him, I might read a book to him. And I find oftentimes that will free my mind from this cloud of sorrow, from this cloud of exhaustion, to let me be able to think clearly again. But the biggest thing that, the biggest way in which I experience God's grace that delivers me from this exhaustion is through community. And this is very important for the whole theme of deliverance, is that it's a communal thing. It's not an individual thing. But when I experience such extreme weariness, I will text a friend or call a friend and make sure that I am in relation with that person and that that person is helping me get through that moment. And that person may not even know that they are the most beautiful conduit of grace. I have a neighbor who I will often text when I feel this weariness, and he immediately comes over and he will talk to me about politics, and he will read books about the presidents to my children, and afterwards I just feel so fresh. I feel like I can deal with life again. Or last week I had just had I was just going in for a scan, an MRI, and I was literally sitting on the chair surfing on my phone, and Becky Hargreaves opened my door, she didn't even knock, and just walked in and was bringing a big bouquet of flowers. And she didn't know how much grace she was bringing into my house. And the whole house felt their weariness lifted from them, and it's because she was lifting it. She was God's hands in that moment.